I know that you've probably seen a lot of stuff that's been going on in Chicago, with all these murderings and things like that. I guess my question is, we got kids out here that's 21, 22 years old as murdering people, and in the process, they hitting babies. So Donald Trump's problem solving to this is to bring in the feds and bring in tanks and things like that. And I think that's only going to make things worse. So I just wanted to hear your views on that. And then I think I was going to try to take that and go back into the economics about that.
Yes, sir. First of all, it's a contradiction for any government to claim that they're bringing in military to protect the lives of some, okay, while they allow their police, which is an extension of the military as a result of the Patriot Acts and Homeland Security, to kill other black folks. They're not bringing in the FBI and the National Guard to protect black folks. They're bringing in the FBI and the National Guard to protect white property and to protect white economic interests. That's the only reason why they are in there. It is capitalism times racism. The job of the police and the military in a capitalist society is to protect the economic infrastructure. And the purpose of the police and the military in a racist society is to eliminate the population that is unwanted. So they're coming in to fulfill the agenda of capitalism and racism, protect the economics and the infrastructure and the institutions, and at the same time wipe out black folk. I believe before this is all said and done with Chicago, I believe before it's all said and done with it, I don't know how many years from now we're going to find this out, but I very much believe that it's going to be revealed at some point in time that there was a mercenary army that was hired and employed by either the state government of Illinois or the city government or possibly even the federal government to go in and systematically reduce the population of black folks in Chicago. There's no way you're going to convince me that all of these murders are the result of angry black males. When you have cameras on every major intersection in Chicago, I spend a lot of time in Chicago, there's no way you're going to get away with a murder in that city and it not be recorded. This is being orchestrated by the government. We've seen the Purge 1, we've seen the Purge 2, we've seen the Purge 3, Chicago's Purge 4.
Doctor, and I'll let Joe get right back in. This is where we agree. I want you to think back on something. Now, I'm a huge Obama supporter and everything like that. Well, I mean, there's nothing no one's going to tell me to make me think that Obama wasn't good. Now, but where I do know something went wrong is right when he got elected. This is facts. Chicago was trying to get the Olympics on the south side of Chicago. Now, I grew up in Chicago all my life. The south side was one of the most beautiful parts of Chicago for all the time I grew up. Now it's a war zone. This happened. The timeline is right after Chicago didn't get the Olympics. Now let me take you back what happened. Mayor Daley was in charge. Mayor Daley asked Oprah, Barack Obama, and Michael Jordan to go down to Brazil, I believe, to speak to get the Olympics in Chicago. Barack Obama just made president. This was like February of 2009, maybe. And he had to go. Michael Jordan told Mayor Daley, nah, I'm cool, I can't make it. But the president of the United States had to go. And Oprah went down there. But Michael Jordan said, nah, I can't make it. He couldn't go up there and fight for Chicago to get the Olympics. We all know that Chicago didn't get the Olympics. And from that point on, because they had invested so much money into the south side of Chicago, they was going to make it the whole Olympic town and everything. And then from that point on, Mayor Daley resigned. Oprah's show left Chicago. Michael Jordan was hardly there anyway. Obama was in Washington, D.C. And we saw from that point on, the south side of Chicago break down. Now, we do conspiracies on this show all the time. I want to know, do you think that has anything to do with that?
I do. I believe it was a setback for a setup for a comeback. And what I mean by that, when Chicago lost the Olympic bid, I think what happened was they decided to put out a propaganda campaign to encourage the violence, to basically turn Chicago's image into that of nothing but a war-torn city that's being dominated by a bunch of black animals and savages. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to let them tear the city up so we can ultimately buy it back for pennies on the dime and pennies on a dollar, and then finally build Chicago into the type of city that we need it to be, so we can definitely get the Olympics the next time that we go for it.
Wow.
This is all part of the economic agenda and the ultimate plan for Chicago. There's a new Chicago coming, and it doesn't include black folks.
Go ahead, Joe. I didn't want to cut you
I
off.
agree with that 100%, that it don't include black folks, and they moving them out already. I guess the other thing, since we was talking about the economics, and most of the big cities across America, where it's dominated by black people, it kind of look like Chicago. So going back to like what Roland was saying and what you were saying, you know, as far as trying to help each other out business wise, it's kind of hard to do when, you know, you don't really have nothing that you own. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally agree with that. One thing we know, when crime is high, it's because employment is down. When employment is high, crime tends to go down. And see, with America, the only narrative that we're hearing about black on black violence is that it's the result of poor character, morals, fatherlessness, unmarried poor black mothers, and psychological issues. That's not true. Crime is an economic factor. Crime is an economic factor. Everyone knows that. If every black man in America had a livable wage job through which they were able to take care of their children and take care of their women, the crime rate, we would still have crime, but it would be significantly lower than what it is now. You see, what you're dealing with is pain, you're dealing with disappointment, you're dealing with rage, you're dealing with hurt, and you have so many black folks sitting on top of each other, living on top of each other, and when you have a situation like that, crime occurs. And guess what? Not just with black folks. You see the same thing in the Middle East. You saw the same thing in the 20s and in the 30s with white folks. Whenever poor men are surrounded around each other with nothing else to do, crime is the result. But they try to make it a uniquely black issue, but it's actually a human situation. But they try to paint that narrative because the government wants to do absolutely nothing to change this reality, because in order to reduce crime, you're going to have to employ black males. And that's not something Trump is going to do. Obama did nothing about the employment of black men. Bill Clinton, George Bush, and no one else. Again, the policy for all the presidents, all the parties, when it comes to black folks, to simply suffocate our issues until they hold us down long enough to die.
On one hand, you were saying about the resources not being available, but then on the other hand, you were saying that government can't provide the type of help that we need in our communities.
No, the government could provide the type of help that we need in our communities. The government is not going to provide the type of help that we need in America for black folks to improve the situations. We got to realize something. Our presence in this country was never supposed to occur. The only reason why we're still here is because of an accident in history known as the Civil War, where black men were called upon to save the Union because they were about 10 seconds from losing the entire country to the Confederacy. And after we won that war for the country, because we liberated Abraham Lincoln didn't liberate us. The Union knew that they could not tell black men to put their rifles down and go back to slavery, because there would have been a second world war, and all of us might possibly be living in the United States of Black America had that continued. So everything must be done to keep black folks off the radar. We are the invisible people. James Baldwin wrote a book talking about the invisible man, how black people exist, but we really don't count. Well, that's exactly what we're in right now. And one of the reasons that it's going to be worse for black people in the Trump administration is the reason Donald Trump really doesn't have to speak to black issues the way any other president previously had to speak to black issues is because we let Barack Obama take the black agenda off the table. He's the first president out of 44 who did not have to deal with issues affecting black folk. And because he was black, we turned a blind eye to it. We let him ignore us while he took everything our ancestors fought for, gave it to gays, Mexicans, white women, long enough for everybody to forget black folks even existed. And so now, with Donald Trump being the first president after Barack Obama, he doesn't have to address black folks at all, because we've already created a precedent where it's okay to ignore black folk because we let Obama do it. And so a lot of this now is just going to be a blackout. One of the reasons they had that Women's March right after Donald Trump got elected was to make sure that the primary civil rights issue in America remains something other than black folks. During the Barack Obama administration, Obama focused on homosexuality as a means of avoiding and ignoring black folks. Donald Trump is going to focus on female issues as a means of avoiding and ignoring black folks. And the next president is going to choose another issue and another issue until there's so few black people around, you're not even worth being mentioned anymore.
Well, okay, I'm gonna let Roland get in. I gotta ask this. I'm sorry. I gotta get this in. As a president of the United States, I hear this a lot from a lot of people, and me and the guy got into it before. How Obama put in black attorney generals, these cases that happened in St. Louis, Freddie Gray's, the Trayvon Martins and stuff like that, I don't even think it would have been even magnified to the extent where we all came together for these issues if Obama wasn't the president. Like, I hear that he hasn't. I just can't. He can't. I don't think that he, as a president, he can just go out there and say, "This is for black people." I just think that's like an alternative world.
I totally agree with you. George Bush didn't have to say this is for white people, but he went out of his way to look out for rich white folks and middle class folks. You don't have to say that this is for a particular race. You just go ahead and do it. Obama didn't even do that. He gave homosexuals 3 laws, 3 federal laws. The last time black people got 3 federal laws was the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. He gave white women the Equal Pay Act. He gave the immigrants 4 federal laws, including 2 executive orders. You didn't get a law. You didn't get a bill. You didn't get an executive order. The only thing you got was ignored. And no black person who cares about the condition of us as a group, not individual privileged black folks, but us as a group, can look at the Obama administration and say that he did anything for black folks. And if someone wants to argue that, they're going to have to tell me what it was. Please name the law. Please name the program that was for black folks.
What about getting all the black people out of prison? What about when he's the first president that I've seen in recent history that didn't pardon rich, successful people that's amongst him, like lawyers and politicians and stuff like that. He went straight into the jails and gave people seconds. Some people had life sentences. And then one guy, as soon as he got out of prison on a life sentence, he went right back in the next week. Like, at some point, we got to hold our...
And why did he go right back in the next... First of all, I looked at a lot of those because they were published online. The people that Barack Obama exonerated. And he exonerated as many white folks as black folks. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he exonerated more white folks than black folks. That wasn't for black people. That was for criminals. And then when you look at many of those cases, and he did leave out some people, he may have let some people out of their life sentences, but a lot of those cases were for very petty offenses. I saw people who were exonerated for 1 month probation, 2 months probation. A lot of those exonerations wasn't even people in jail. A lot of them was for people who was on probation or parole. So it wasn't like he just went in and took the black folks who had some of the worst sentences and let them out. But here's the biggest issue with that, and this is where black folks, we have a very bad habit of looking at tokenism as some sort of systematic change. We suffer systematic oppression. So if you want to do anything that's going to benefit black people, it must be done systematically. Letting a few folks out of jail while the rest are there, and then doing nothing to change the law to prevent black folks from being locked up in the first place, and then creating no meaningful programs for those that you let out, only dictates that they will go back.
I agree.
85% of all black offenders will return to jail within 2 years because there are no opportunities. All Obama did was give us cosmetic surgery. We don't need cosmetic surgery. We need internal political economic change.
No, I agree.